The image of Nietzsche collapsing beside a horse in Turin remains etched in the minds of many philosophy students. It is often depicted as a defining moment in his life, marking an episode of intense mania. Nietzsche famously lost his mind in the last years of his life. While some attribute it to an illness, others point out the mental anguish Nietzsche endured through multiple years of his life. Famously falling out with many of his good friends, Nietzsche endured heartbreak multiple times. Only 44 years old, Nietzsche never recovers from his famous breakdown in Turin. The revolutionary thinker Nietzsche had much more to offer, yet what words and books he could have written are unknown. A huge loss which leads many scholars to wonder what he would have thought of his fame, the ensuing First World War, and so much more. This leads us to the inevitable question: what if Nietzsche went through therapy? And not just everyday mundane therapy, but what if Nietzsche visited one of the most renowned therapists of his time, Joseph Breuer? This is the plot of the book Nietzsche's Tears by famous psychiatrist Irvin Yalom. Yalom imagines a meeting in 1882, a period in which both Nietzsche and Breuer were in Vienna. A visit, a meeting between doctor and patient would not have been out of the ordinary. Nietzsche often visited doctors for his ongoing migraines and visual problems, and Breuer was an outstanding doctor and psychiatrist in 19th century Vienna. Nietzsche would not have been a regular patient. At his core, Nietzsche believes in the ideal of the free spirit, someone who has fought himself free of the restraints of culture and morality. Nietzsche writes, "He is called a free spirit who thinks differently from what, on the basis of his origin, environment, his class and profession, or on the basis of the dominant views of his age, would have been expected of him." A visit to a therapist, by his standards, would translate to a form of brainwashing in which he sacrifices his freedom of thought and spirit. Breuer believes that deceiving Nietzsche is necessary for him to come to accept a therapy. His only option is to initially treat Nietzsche for his physical ailments, creating an opportunity to shift their dynamic into a therapeutic relationship. Many conversations ensue, and during these conversations, the relationship between Nietzsche and Breuer does indeed change to a therapeutic one, albeit that Nietzsche becomes a therapist to Breuer. Breuer believes that if he can demonstrate the power of therapy, Nietzsche will ultimately benefit from it as well. Acknowledging the therapeutic value within his own philosophical ideas, Nietzsche agrees to this challenge. What follows is a profound reversal of roles, with the renowned therapist Breuer immersing himself in Nietzsche's philosophical experiments, confronting aversion in the spirit of the Übermensch, staring into the abyss while wrestling with the idea of the eternal return, and ultimately embracing his fate as he envisions leaving his own wife in a subconscious dream. Through this approach, Breuer hopes to bypass Nietzsche's resistance to submitting himself to another's guidance by positioning himself as a fellow sufferer rather than an authority. But what exactly are Nietzsche's struggles? At the core of his torment lies an overwhelming sense of loneliness and isolation. In some sense, we see some of the writer Yalom's ideas on existential therapy poured through in his book. Irvin Yalom, in his Existential Therapy framework, identifies four ultimate concerns that shape human existence and underlie psychological distress. These are death, the awareness of our own mortality and the struggle to find meaning despite life's impermanence. Freedom, the responsibility that comes with personal freedom, leading to anxiety about our choices and their consequences. Isolation, the fundamental separatedness of individuals, even in close relationships, and the challenge of overcoming existential loneliness. Meaninglessness, the need to create purpose in a world that does not inherently provide it. These concerns are central to Yalom's approach to existential psychotherapy, guiding individuals to confront and navigate them in a meaningful way. Freedom and isolation are particularly prominent in Nietzsche's struggle. Nietzsche's radical belief in self-overcoming and the will to power highlights the anxiety that comes with absolute freedom. He resists external influence and insists on forging his own path, embodying existential responsibility. Yet this has consequences. He experiences stress, loneliness, and is unable to connect with anyone for long periods of time. Breuer identifies this as one of the reasons for his physical ailments. The book ends with Nietzsche bursting out in tears, hence the title, as he admits to these feelings of loneliness and isolation. Yet his therapy does not imply a virtuous change in Nietzsche's life. The encounter with Breuer seems to signify Nietzsche's coming of age and readiness to write one of the greatest books in the history of philosophy, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Yalom seems to argue that Nietzsche needed this form of therapy to ready himself to write this absolute dynamite of a book. Existential psychotherapy is quite the interesting branch of therapy, as it focuses on the existential concerns underlying many of our psychological problems. The book, Nietzsche's Tears, is an interesting showcase of the therapeutic value of existential ideas. I would advise you all to go ahead and read the book, associate link in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, we're happy to serve you with philosophy. Bye.